Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another tutorial. So we are continuing on our How to Make an Avatar series, and we are still in Unity. And as promised, this week we are covering toggles. This specific video, I'm going to be covering toggles using Bool. As I mentioned in my last videos, I primarily use the AB3 creator to auto-create my toggles. There's still a lot of setup that goes into that, but Bool is how you would make toggles if you don't have that add-on. It's an add-on that I highly recommend, but it is a paid product. So if you don't have it, then this is how you would make your toggles. I do want to give a little credit to Daddy Senpai's tutorial and her YouTube channel, as hers is the channel and video that I had gone to watch to do a little bit of a refresher on how to do Bool, since it has been a very long time since I have made any toggles this way. As I've been saying before, I will try to keep this video short, but there are 3 different ways that we're going to be making toggles in this video, so it might run a little long. We're going to do just a regular on-off toggle, so like turning off your glasses versus turning them on. We're also going to do an either or, so like either this top or that top. And then lastly, we're going to cover matte swaps. The reason why I'm putting all 3 into one video is I just kind of want to keep it a little bit more organized and easier, so that if you know you're just trying to figure out how to do toggles with Bool, then you have one solid video to watch and you can just fast forward to whatever spot that you need to. I'll try to throw something up on the screen to kind of like do an indicator for both you and myself, and I'll try to remember to add timestamps to the video on YouTube as well, to make it a little bit easier for you to fast forward to whatever part of the toggles you want to learn. That being said, I think that's pretty much the only like goal for warning, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is where we left off with the avatar. If you've been following the series, the last video was how to make materials and emissions. So I have gone ahead and gone through and finished making the materials for her. I haven't finished completely like how I want her to look. Like, I haven't added any extra glitter or emissions to anything else. Just added the base materials so that way she looks a little bit more complete, so I'm more caught up with you guys. So I'll finish the rest of it off stream. I've just been a bit busy. I haven't gotten to do it myself, and I have not gotten to fix her head and face to match in a photo editing app. So if you see that and you're wondering why they don't match, it's just I haven't gotten to go through and edit that yet myself, because like I said, a lot of other stuff going on. Yeah, pretty much caught up to where you guys are now. If you've been following through the series, then should have your model all done with the materials, which is important to at least have the base materials done, because you do need those materials for your toggles to function, as some toggles are going to go off of the material as others are going to go off of the mesh itself. So to get started, you're going to want to duplicate your avatar and hide the original. As I've mentioned before in the other videos, I'm going to stress it again. You always want to duplicate your avatar. You never ever want to animate on your original, because if you do, even if you get it back into T-pose, sometimes it will mess up the avatar and it'll get stuck in that bicycle pose. So you always want to duplicate your avatar whenever you're making toggles or any kind of animation, to avoid it potentially breaking. I did add her descriptor. I haven't actually like added it yet, so you can ignore that. That's something that we will end up covering once I go to do like facial expressions, so you can just ignore that on the side. So for creating your toggles, you need a base FX layer. So that's basically the layer that you're going to put all of your toggles in and everything that goes into that. With the old SDKs, there was like a certain file you could go to, and you could go all the way down to controllers and you could find it. With them implementing the SDK directly into the creator companion, honestly, I don't quite know how to find it. So what I do is just here in this little box, I type in VRC _ and make sure that the search is set to all. If you have it set to in packages, in assets, or in a certain folder that you were last in, it won't pull up. So make sure that it is set to all. Just search VRC _ You're going to be looking for this one that's a square, and it's got like 2 little gray squares next to it, and you can read what it is down here. And we're looking for this one, hands layer controller. This is the one that we are wanting to use. This is like hands layer 2. idle layer, locomotion, sitting, and utility, and so on and so forth. So you'll just kind of go through until you can find the one that says hands layer. And you're going to want to Control D and duplicate that. Now that it says hands layer 1, I'm going to drag this into my assets so that I don't lose it. I'm going to right click create. Let's do folder. Let's do animations. And toss that in there. And I'm going to rename this FX. I'm going to drag and drop that onto the avatar, or if you click the avatar, you just drag it into the little spot that says animator controller. And now we can get started on actually recording it. So as you can see, if you go to the animation tab, you already have your hands. So that's the whole reason why you have to find that one and duplicate it, is because if you don't, your hands won't move in VRChat. So you won't be able to make facial expressions, and they're just going to kind of be stuck. So that's why we need to do that, is so that you have everything needed for the hands to make their movements and their gestures for whenever we do get to the facial expressions portion. So you'll know that you're in the right spot whenever you see that. So I'm going to click this little drop down and click create new clip. Also, if I pause, I'm sorry, my cat was making some noise and I was making sure it wasn't somebody at the door, so I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder just for the sake of Bool toggles for me, since this is an avatar I'm planning on selling in the end. You don't have to do this. This is just for me to kind of keep track of like what toggles are part of which tutorial. So let's do glasses off. Alright, and then I'm going to preview, and this is the bicycle pose I was talking about. This is why you always want to record on a duplicate avatar and never on the your like initial avatar, because it'll get stuck like this sometimes. So we're going to want to get her glasses off. So what we're doing is we're going to make an animation that's going to basically tell the toggles that we want it to go off versus on, and we'll set it up to where it's default on and then can toggle off. So I'm going to hit the record button. There's a few different ways you can do this. You can do add property and you can like select the mesh from there. This is just how I do it. Whatever way works for you. It all does the same thing. I hit record, I select it and just uncheck it. As you can see, it added it down here. So when it's checked marked, obviously that means on. If it's unchecked marked, obviously it means off. So we're wanting to make it go from on to off, because this is the glasses off animation, so that whenever the full animation plays, you know, it toggles off. So I'm going to click on the little diamonds, Control copy, go to this first frame, it'll say 1, and paste. You can just type in 1 if you want. You always want to make sure that it's at the 1, because that's just 1 second. So on this here second animation, we'll just turn them off. So as you can see, if we were to play it, well, I mean, you can't like really like play it, but you know, if you were to quote unquote play it, it goes from on to off, and that's what we want. So that's pretty much it. The reason why I like to copy and paste it is it makes it a little bit easier for the next toggles moving forward, which by the way, I'm going to do a separate video for the DPS setup, so that is going to involve making toggles for that, but I'm not going to cover that in this one because that's a little bit of a different process, and these 2 toggle videos are going to be quite long already, so if you're wanting to know specifically how to make toggles for DPS, that's going to be a separate video, but it's the same process. I just felt like mentioning that because it popped in my head. So anyways, create another new clip, glasses on, and I paste it so it already brings it back in here, so I don't have to like record it and do all that stuff again. And I'm going to start it as off and go to on. Alright, and that's it. Alright, that's how you set up your on-off animations for just toggling on an object versus off an object. I'm going to go ahead and finish setting up this toggle so that way nothing gets lost in between the different types of toggles. So we are going to come back and make more animations for like the either or stuff and the matte swaps, but we'll do that here in a minute. So now that we have our animations, what you need to do is you need to come into your FX layer, which no matter how you find it, just double click it and it's going to pop up like this. Hello. Alright, there's a few different things that happen with the FX layer. First things first is, so as you can see, since we recorded on the FX layer, it put those animations here in the all parts section. You always want to highlight those and delete those. You don't want anything in the all parts section, because if you do, then your avatar is going to default to whatever that highlighted, that orange animation is, and the toggles aren't going to do anything about it. So you always want to make sure that your all parts looks like this. There's nothing in it. Another thing is how it has M here on all three of these layers. A lot of people will have stuck hands, like their facial expressions will get stuck. One of the biggest fixes for that bug is to remove these masks. So whenever I make my toggles, it's just a habit to always go ahead and delete the masks. I've been doing that for I don't even know how long, and it seems like it prevents the hands issues. So if you want to leave it, go ahead. If you want to delete it, go ahead. There are times once you get more into like advanced toggle creation and effects, you know, like particles and things like that, you might need a mask to be added on. But so far in, you know, about the full year that I've been doing this, I delete the mask and I haven't had any problems. My facial expressions never really get stuck anymore. So it doesn't, from what I know, affect anything. If somebody's told you otherwise, you know, run with that information too. But I just click this little gear, click in that box, and just delete on all three of them. It's not deleting anything for your hands, right? So there's still all your hand gestures. But that's just whenever I start on the FX and I start on my toggles, it's just force a habit. That might be a good practice for you as well if you want to go ahead and remove it to avoid stuck facial expressions. So first things first, we're going to make a new layer. We're going to call this glasses. The layer, how you label it, doesn't really matter too much. It's just, you know, kind of whatever you need it to be. Always make sure you hit this gear and change that weight to 1. If your toggles aren't working, that is one of the very first things that you need to check is the layer set to a weight of 1. If it's not going to work. It has to be a full 1. All right. We're going to come over to parameters, and we are working on Bool. As you can see, there are a few different types of animations you can make. So trigger, obviously, that's just kind of like a button. Like you just push it. You'd have to hold it for it to work. We don't want that. Bool is what we're doing right now. Integers is it's more of what I'll use for DPS, so we'll kind of cover that more whenever we get to that point. I have heard from some creators that it's outdated. Other creators still absolutely swear by integers. It is a lot easier on your memory. So if you're trying to optimize your avatars and get all the green stats and make like the upload file size and things like that less, then you want to use integers. I personally always have issues when I use integers, but that's why I stick to Bool. But you're more than welcome to play with it if you want. Float is radial. So like a lot of my avatars, the toggles are on radials now. We'll cover that in the next video. We will also cover that with hue shifts whenever we go to make hue shifts, which I will try to maybe put in this video. It might be another one. I don't want to make it too long. Anyways, plus sign, click Bool for now. Glasses. And this is very important on the parameters. How you type it in is very, very important. Right? Super important. The reason being is we're going to come back to animations, right click, create, VRChat, avatars, expression parameters. And I'm just going to name it parameters. Same thing, right click, create VRChat, avatars, menu, main menu. So I'm going to go ahead and assign these, hide her real quick. I'm going to go ahead and assign these to my avatar. So let me remove that. So whenever you have your avatar, we haven't covered a descriptor. We'll cover more of the extra stuff for the descriptor. The descriptor is how you set up like the eyes to look around and the blinking and things like that, as well as like your locomotion, your toggles, and you know, your idle animations, things like that. So you'll do add component. You'll just type in descriptor, VRChat avatar descriptor. We'll cover the rest of it later. Lip sync, we'll need to set that up. We'll cover all of that later. Right now, we're just going to focus on playable layers and click customize. And expressions, customize. This FX spot, you'll click that. It's going to say none. Put on your FX. Menu parameters, same thing, drag those in there. This is assigning it to the avatar, and we want to do that because, again, if we don't assign it, it won't work. So I'm also doing this because where I'm adding parameters on here on the FX layer, it also has to be added to the actual parameter spot, so this little thing. So we'll click that. You can see it's already, started in with some of its face stuff. It's fine. So click Add Glasses. Now, this is where it's important. The parameters on the FX layer and the parameters in the parameters controller have to match. The capitalization, spacing, punctuation, all of it, it has to be identical. So if you need to copy paste it, that's fine. And I'm going to change the type to Bool. This is important because they have to both be assigned, both match, and if not, that's another way you can tell if your toggles aren't working. That's another thing you need to check is your parameters. So those do have to be set up. It's basically telling the avatar to check here to go to the FX layer to actually look. So that's it as far as parameters go. To actually set up the toggle, you'll go back to your layers. I'm just going to come in here and search glasses. And this little triangle is how you know what your animation is. So we're going to drag both of those in there. And now we are wanting her to default with her glasses on. So if you remember, whenever we made the glasses on toggle, it ends with her glasses being on. So we actually want to right click this and set as layer default. And then we have our glasses off. Okay. This is how it's supposed to look. All right. And then you're going to take your glasses on, right click, make transition, glasses off, right click, make transition. All right, and then you're going to click on the arrow that goes in between glasses on to off. We're going to go to our settings, turn off exit time, and take this transition duration to 0. That is going to make it instantaneous. Now, if you're doing like dissolve toggles or something, which I'll show you how to do super duper quick, there's not really much of a difference to set up, but I will show you that here in a minute. Then you might want to leave the transition duration so that it can actually play, but right now it's just it tells it to play the next animation immediately, basically. You're going to go to your conditions and click plus. Right here, this is where your parameters that we manually typed in on the parameter controller is going to show up. So we'll scroll down. There it is, glasses. We're going to leave it to true because this one is true. And then from glasses off to on, same thing, no exit time, no transition duration. Click glasses, and we're going to change it to false. All right. It always has to be the two. It can't both be true. It can't both be false. All right. And there you go. Your glasses animation is now set up. Here in a minute, once we get everything done, I will show you guys how to use the emulator to go into Unity and play mode and test your animations without having to upload your avatar to VRChat to test everything. But yeah, as far as a on-off toggle, that is pretty much it. Let me try to remember to set something up here for you guys. And for me, so that it's just a little bit easier for both y'all and for me to find the next like time spot. I don't know why my computer's like not wanting to load. I apologize. Good gosh. All right. Either or. Okay. I'm just going to use this. Okay. I'm going to use this as just like a little marker for both myself and for y'all if y'all are fast forwarding, and for myself to try to figure out how to add the little like timestamps on YouTube. I don't really know how to do that yet, but I'm going to try to remember. But in case I don't remember, then you can just fast forward through the video until you see this spot to get to the next type of toggles. So, alright, so obviously we're moving on to the either or toggles, so either this top or that top. Okay, my recording was like spazzing out. Okay, so hide her again. Grab our girl. Go back into animation. So, without getting in trouble. I think we'll be okay. I'm going to do either the bikini or the bodysuit. I think we'll be okay. I'm going to show you how to do dissolve real quick on the collar because I'm trying to be aware of YouTube not letting, I don't want to get in trouble for having nudity. So for dissolves, you go to your material, special FX, and you check mark the dissolve. And it's very important that if you're setting up dissolve that your rendering preset whenever you make your material, if you remember when we made materials, I set it to cutout. Just force habit, it also looks cleaner for like the alpha stuff, but it's also, it has to be set to cutout for a dissolve. So dissolved alpha is how it's gonna like actually vanish, but you have to take your dissolved color and turn that A all the way down. I believe that's, yeah. So see? But it's not, like, it's not dissolving, Jen. Yeah. Go to dissolve noise. Let's do this one. Click one, it doesn't matter. And then that should be it. No? Why is it not working? Let's also set this to red so I can see easier. I am confusion. It's been so long since oh, there it goes. Yeah. So she's okay. All right. So as you can see, like that one don't quite do it like I like it to do. So maybe this one. You can kind of see it. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love it. So yeah, just play with different noises to find different effects. But as you can see, it's once it goes up more, it kind of like breaks apart and then it vanishes. Different noises are going to do different things, right? So that's why you kind of want to just play around with it. The reason why it might not function as well as you might want it to, like this one kind of does like a little bit more of that. It's a lot about the mesh and the UV wrapping and all that kind of asset creation stuff. So if it's not working how you want it to, just maybe find a different dissolve. And just also understand that sometimes it might not show up how you want it. But anyways, right click and animate when locked. That's what you're going to need. As you can see, doing that on the leather just does the leather. So you'll want to set it for everything. So this one has 3 materials. I have my red, silver, and my black. So if I take the 3 dots, copy, I could come down here to metal. I could go back to special effects, turn on dissolve, 3 dots, and paste. And now it's kept the same thing, right? So now the metal will also dissolve, as you can see. And then you could also do it on the red. So you would just do that if you're wanting to set up dissolve toggles. And dissolve example. Let me just show you guys this real quick. So color on off, but we're going to come over here to the 1, and this is 1 second. Okay, it looks like 1 minute, it's 1 second. We're going to come in here. Okay, and come right here. Okay. Oh, but see, I didn't add it to the red, so let me add it to the, oh goodness, go away. I don't remember what that used to be. Okay, there it goes. Come here. I know I said I was going to do either or toggles. I never claimed, you know, to be... I shouldn't have done that. Stop recording. Dissolve. Paste. Continue recording. Yeah, I never said these tutorials were going to be like the most professional. But anyways, that's why you want to add it to each material, is because if you don't, like, it won't dissolve. But let's set this to 0. So the collar, let's say, is going to start as on, and we want it to dissolve off. So the collar is on, dissolve is set to 0. The final animation, we want collar off, and we want the dissolve to be all the way up to that 1 value. So now, as the animation plays, you can see it starting, and it'll all dissolve off, and then it reaches the end. And you want to set that mesh to be set as off as well, not just the dissolve on, because if you leave it to just the dissolve and the mesh is still on, that could potentially cause some issues. So that's how you set up dissolve toggles. And then if you wanted to make it dissolve on, you would just reverse these on a second animation. So this is color off. You would do like color on and put it as, okay, I really wasn't intending to explain all this. So if you're going to do color on, let's say this is now the color on, you would want it the opposite of what you just did. So you want your mesh to be on and the dissolve to be all the way up, right? And then whenever it ends, your mesh is still on, but your dissolve is now set to 0. So if this was the opposite, see, now it dissolves in. And the reason why you want your mesh to start on is, because you're telling it to start the mesh on, but you want to do the opposite thing whenever you're turning it off. So that's just a quick rundown of dissolve toggles. Wasn't planning on showing you guys that, but now I know. So yeah, let's move on with our either or. So we're going to do either the bathing suit or the bodysuit. So let's just name this one tops. Okay, I'm gonna record. We want bikini and we want bodysuit. All right. So the bikini is the default. Okay, so it's going to start with the bikini on. Let me think about this. It's been so long since I've set this up. I apologize. I think I should have named this different for my own sake. Hold on. Animations. Okay. And then let's copy this and make bodysuit one. And we're going to switch those. Okay, so I switched the check marks. So now the bodysuit is on, and then on the other one, the bikini's on. So it's either this or that. Okay, so go back. I didn't put it on this one. That's the duplicate. FX. Tops. Tops and parameters, add tops, and it's already set to a bool. Perfect. So come in here. So we want it to default with the bikini on, and then bodysuit. Same thing. Make transition. No and 0. Tops true. Tops false. Now I just want to take a quick second to say there are a million different ways you can set up toggles to do all kinds of cool things, to have all kinds of different options. This series is for the basic of basics for brand spanking new beginners. So if you want more advanced stuff, it's totally out there. Search it up. There's a gazillion of us creators have YouTube tutorials and channels, and some of them will definitely teach you the more complex stuff. One of my best friends, his name is Dan Stagger, and he does like super duper advanced toggles. Stuff that goes over my head to do, like, with my best-selling avatar, Thyra, she has it to where you could have like the axe in hand, or you could have like the shield in hand. Or no, sorry, it was like the axe, or what was it? I don't remember what it was. But let's just say the axe and shield. But let's say they were both going to the right hand. Well, obviously can't hold two things at once, so he had it to where, like, if you turn the axe on, the shield automatically goes off to the back, but if you turn the shield on, then, like, he spent 2 hours setting up the toggles, and it still, I don't know what he did. So this is just the most basic thing literally out there for an either or toggle, but there are a lot more advanced things that you could do to say, like, okay, well, if you turn the bodysuit on, but you also have glasses on, then this other thing can toggle on, but if you turn the glasses off, then this fourth thing can come on. Like, there's tons of cool stuff you guys can do. But I despise Unity, so I go with the simple stuff because I live in Blender. So, yeah. That's an either or toggle. You just, check mark it, and you know, you quite literally tell Unity for the animation that when the bikini is on, the bodysuit is off, and when the bodysuit is on, the bikini's off. Plain and simple. So now, make my little marker. We're going to do matte swaps. How rude of it to go on the second line. So matte swap. So let's say we want to change it from a black bikini to a red bikini. Just for the hell of it. So I'm going to just make a new material. Go away. Okay. So back on our duplicate avatar. Animation, we're going to say bikini matte swap. Alright. Plain and simple. You're going to go to your project with your mesh selected. Drag on the new material. That's it. It's recorded. And then let's say we're going to say bikini matte swap default. So, right, because that was on a recorded one, it's already black. So we want an animation for it to go from red back to black. So outside of recording, you want to have it, you know, to something else, record, and then drag on the other one. Okay. Same thing. Super duper simple. And you could do that for as many different colors as you want to set it up. And then it would be the exact same setup in the FX layer and the parameters, you know, with your bool, true, false. Now, if you're doing like multiple different matte swaps, so if you have like 5 different colors, I would suggest doing that instead of okay, well, a few different things to say. I would suggest putting that on a radial tool for one. So you could have it like what would be the best way to actually don't listen to me. I don't know how to set that up manually on a radial tool. I will show you that though in the next tutorial with the auto creator, and we can take a look at its animation and see how it's actually set up to do matte swaps on a radial tool, because that's how I use it. I don't want to try to teach you guys something that I don't know for sure about. But hue shifts, so if you're not actually changing out like true textures, so like her boots came with like 5 different textures. If it's not something like that, if it's literally just colors, I would suggest doing a hue shift. So that's the next thing that we'll cover. Let's go ahead and type that up so that you and I both have a little spot. Yeah, I apologize. But that's how you do like a basic matte swap. So like just for like one thing using Bool, you just like all the other stuff, you know, just make a little animation, set up the, I'm not going to go through the FX and set it all up because it's the same exact thing that we've been doing. Set it to Bool, true, false, same thing. So I do want to show you guys how to do a hue shift though. So let's say that this is her, you know, thing that we want to have a hue shift on. So let's do, so this is personally under matte cap. For you, it might be under just like the normal color section. If so, depending on, you know, like what your texture is. So, well, here, let me show you with her eyes. So since this is actually using an actual texture, we would have to go to we'd have to go to color adjust, check mark hue shift, and then do our animated when locked on the actual hue shift bar. And as you can see, it changes our colors. But her eye texture, for some reason, like the whites like aren't white, so it like, so I don't know. So I'm probably gonna end up doing a matte swap on that instead in the next video. But that's okay. So anyway, so like, you know, if you're using like an image texture, you would put it there. If you're using like a matte cap like this, you come down here into your matte cap section, and same thing, you would just check mark your hue shift and animate when locked. Right, so now to make your animation. So with hue shifts, it's a little bit different. Let's say bikini hue 0. There's a reason why I'm doing bikini hue 0. So going into recording on that hue shift on that slider, just fiddle with it, doesn't matter, as long as the number here is 0. Okay? Copy paste onto our frame. And then create new clip, bikini hue 1. Paste it there and change it to 1. So you would think that that does nothing, but what that's telling the animation is to go from 0 to 1. Which whenever we look at our slider here, there's all those colors in between 0 and 1. So that's the reason why we set it to hue 1 and hue 0. So there's that for setting up the animation. So now we're going to go back to our FX layer, make a new layer, hue, parameters. Parameter, this is now whenever we use a float. So float, hue, parameters, add. Change that to a float. Hue. Oh. There we go. Alright, so now back on our layer, set the weight to 1. So instead of dragging it in like you would normally do for a hue shift, you right click, create state from new blend tree. This is how you always set up your hue shifts. In the next video on the auto toggle creator, the base version's like $10. I think it's either 15 or 20 for the like supporters version. That one will come with an auto hue creator. So that's super duper cool. I personally don't have that version yet. It's something I want to look into. So my tutorial in the next video right after this one won't have the auto hue creator. So this is still how I set up my things, but if you want it to be auto done so you don't have to mess with all this, then that's how you can get it. So anyways, you add blend tree, double click blend tree, and then for your parameter, as you can see, none of our other parameters show up. It just says hue. That's because, again, it has to be a float parameter for it to be able to work with the blend tree. So our hue is a float parameter, so we have that. And then under motion, click the plus sign and go to add motion field. And rude. If you lost it like I did, you can click this little dot and you can just go to hue. So first one is 0 plus add motion field. It pulls up this little menu. Hue 1. The end. And this is what it's doing as it goes, as you do the radial. This is basically your radial. It's going from that 0 to 1 and all the colors are in between. So that's it. That's how you set up on off, either or, and hue shifts / matte swap, kind of, sort of. So now I'm going to hide our duplicate avatar. Turn on our normal avatar here. And let's make a new little spot. Oops. Called testing. And while we do that, I'm going to come on here real quick and just let Phoenix know. Recording. Okay. So that should register on YouTube by this point. So, okay. I'm going to go into play mode. Now, you could technically turn on the emulator before play mode. I think the bug has been fixed at this point. Just for safety, I personally don't activate it until I'm in play mode, and that way it isn't activated once I leave play mode. There was a bug at one point with the... Are you gonna... It takes forever sometimes. There was a bug with the AV3 emulator at one point that if you turned it on outside of play mode, like you just had it normally enabled so that whenever you went into play mode it was automatically enabled for you, that it was causing issues and it was causing the avatars to break sometimes, and you know, toggles weren't working and they couldn't get into play mode. There's just a few different bugs, so I'm pretty sure that's been fixed by this point, but just because I'm not too sure, I don't activate it until I'm in play mode. So play mode finally registered. We went to our scene, go to tools, and right here enable avatars 3.0 emulator. Oh I forgot. Yeah, okay, hold on. Also, her glasses defaulted off, so Need to fix that. FX. Yeah, see? 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 It's because I left my stuff in there. The thingy, the collar was going crazy. So the glasses defaulted off for some reason. So if that ever happens, just come back into your animation, go to your little arrow transitions, and just switch the true and false. And I'm also super stupid. I'm sorry, guys. This tutorial's not the smoothest. I'm really tired. We need to add it to our menu so that we can actually select it. So I'm gonna go to our menu and I'm clicking Add New Control, and we're gonna say Glasses. It is a toggle parameter glasses. Same thing. Add control. Tops. Toggle. Tops. Control. Hue Shift. And for the Hue Shift, it's radial puppet. And instead of putting it in parameter, you go parameter rotation and put the hue float in there. So that's how you actually assign your toggles to your menu in VRChat. And that's also this little icon spot. Whenever you have those really pretty icons on menus, that's where you can add that too. So for the sake of the tutorial, let me go in here and just toss that on so we can see it. Okay. Alrighty. So see, now her glasses are fixed. So that's good. So with Emulator, click on your avatar, and there are our toggles, glasses. Go on off, tops. You can see them switch, so that's perfect, exactly what we wanted. And then Hue Shift, and ta-da, Hue Shift works. And there you go. That's how you set up toggles the old school way. You know, like I said, and I just kind of want to recap it. We have our Hue Shift that we covered on a radial puppet. So in game, this is whenever you twist the analog stick, and you can control what the color is. The glasses we covered on off. So if you just want to toggle off her ears and it's not going to affect anything else, you want to toggle off her glasses, it's not going to affect anything else. We covered that. And then if you want to switch out tops, so we don't want it to be an individual toggle of bodysuit on off and bikini on off because they don't stack. So if they were to be on at the same time, there's going to be clipping. We don't want that, so we did an either or toggle so that when one comes on, the other one turns off. And that's how you set up toggles the old way. So I'm going to be making another video after this for how to make toggles with the AV3 Creator if you have it. And if you don't have it, then if you want to take a look at the video after and see if it's something that you would be interested in, it should be up as soon as this video is up as well. And you can take a look at it. It's something I highly recommend. It is an absolute lifesaver for me. It saves you a ton of time, and you can do a little bit more complicated things like the material swaps. And if you pay for the advanced version, you can get auto hue shift, things like that. So yeah, I think that's the end of this tutorial. I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm also going to be trying to finally release that like idle tail sway and like ear flick video this week as well. I think that was it for this week. So this week was primarily focused on toggles. Next week we will be focusing on facial expressions and setting up our descriptor. And then after that we should be pretty much done. There might be one more video next week that I'll do as far as using like Pumpkins tool. So if you have to go back into Blender for like any clipping or something, how to use the Pumpkins tool to get things back over. And I think that should be it. So next week we should be finishing up the avatar. So make sure if you're following the series to come back next week to wrap everything up and get her exported and ready to put up for sale if you're planning on making commercial avatars. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week.